Infographics. What are they? How are they so useful? And how can you create them yourself to send a powerful visual message to your audience? Infographics have become an overwhelmingly popular medium to communicate important facts, figures, timelines, and statistics in a brief yet impactful visual form. They are often used to promote public health messages, advertise products for sale, inform the community of government projects or initiatives, and as a tool for education purposes. In short, an infographic or information graphic is a collection of images and charts that gives an easy to understand overview of a topic with minimal text. While visual appeal is a very important design element, the key to the success of infographics is in their organisation of the key pieces of information they present. Infographics don't just present facts and figures at random. The significance of each piece of information and its relationship to the central theme is made obvious to the viewer through its graphic representation and placement. When we present or nest information in this way, it is both richer in content and is easier to understand as a whole. Nested information, where facts and figures are packaged or bundled into meaningful collections, is also much easier to remember. Let's take a look at a few examples. Our first is an important public health message from the Australian government. Its target audience is all people in the Australian community, and its purpose is to educate people about a vitally important hygiene practice to prevent large-scale spread of communicable diseases, specifically COVID-19. There are several design elements at play here that make this infographic effective. The purpose is communicated effectively in a simple phrase: stop the spread. This is repeated in 3 different locations on the infographic where the audience might direct their attention. There is no way to escape this simple but powerful message. The images in the centre show, in a simple graphic representation, 4 steps of the hygiene practice. Because of their placement on the page, it is obvious to the audience that these 4 steps are critical and they follow one another in order. Although each step has a short text description above each image, the audience do not really need to read that text in order to understand the process. The colours used are eye-catching, and there are only a few colours used. This is to draw the audience's attention to other important information in this infographic. The pink colour is in stark contrast to the aqua green and is only used in certain parts of the illustration. It signifies the otherwise invisible disease and shows that each step in the process is necessary to stop its spread. Finally, notice that there isn't a lot of specific detail on this infographic. There are many more facts, figures and charts that could be shown to the audience on this piece, but exhaustive detail would likely diminish the audience's attention from the central and very important theme of this public health message. Next, we have another simple but impactful message, this time using statistical data. Again, the target audience is broad, and the broader the audience, the simpler the message should be. The purpose is to educate people about the decline in koala populations in Australia, and that single, focused message is put simply in the title of this infographic. Describing this as worrying also adds a strong emotional component to this message that evokes compassion, empathy, and urgency. While there is a lot of data about koala populations, the statistics shown here are selected for maximum impact. They illustrate the point of population decline without adding exhaustive information that can overwhelm the audience. The use of free space around the central image also helps to direct the audience's attention, creating focus for the most important parts. On the image, data are selected and shown for 4 of the 6 Australian states. These are shown graphically on a map of Australia with a colour code that corresponds to population decline. The deeper the colour, the worse the population decline. Just like our previous example, this visual arrangement gives the audience a clear picture of the critical information without having to read any text. The nationwide decline is also shown in red below an illustration of a koala in its natural habitat. There is no doubt only at a glance what this message is about. Our next example also uses statistical data, but includes a lot more information. This is because the target audience is more specific. This infographic has been prepared by Safe Work Australia, and its purpose is to educate employers and employees about work-related mental health. This kind of infographic is likely to be used in the workplace, around areas that are frequented by personnel. It may also be included in training materials for workplace safety, and it is intended that the audience spend some more time than just a glance to take in this message. Nonetheless, the same principles about effective infographics apply. The information is well organised on the page, and key information is made obvious to the viewer by the careful placement of visual elements. The data presented is accompanied by images and even charts to convey their meaning and impact in an easy to understand way. There is also some finer text that describes these numbers in a little more detail if the viewer is interested. A consistent style and uniform application of complementary and contrasting colours also helps to emphasise the most important pieces of information, while suggesting to the viewer that there is a single important and consistent message, even though there is a bit more information to view here. Have a close look at this one and all its elements. It is good to practice seeing these design elements in action, in examples like this one, before you begin designing your own. Our last example is more of a fun, educational infographic. It has a similar level of detail to our previous example, with a range of facts, figures and charts showing information about vegetarianism. While all the same principles of an effective infographic apply to this one also, the artist has decided to draw in the audience's attention with personified vegetable characters. This can create a comical interest to read more of the information presented, and it can also leave a lasting impression. So how do you go about designing your own infographic? The first step is to decide on a central theme and purpose. What message will you share? For what audience? Is it a broad audience or a specific audience? With this focus very much in mind, it is then time to select and organise key information that will best demonstrate your message. Remember not to choose too much information. In an infographic, less information equals greater focus. And the last thing we want to do is to overwhelm our audience with too much information. Next, it is time to brainstorm ideas about how this information might be presented graphically on the page. Can you exchange text for an image that conveys the same information visually? How are these components going to be arranged so that there is a logical flow of information with simplicity and careful spacing to create focus? What colours will you use? Will the colours help to reinforce your message and emphasise particular pieces of key information? And be artistic when you begin to assemble your infographic. The core structure and placement of the elements on the page are most important when creating an easy to understand overview, but the final and holistic visual appeal is also necessary to grab your audience's attention. Make it eye-catching. Above all, when you are designing your infographic, deliver a single message only, loud and clear, with impact rather than exhaustive text-based detail. And just a quick final tip, the secret is in the planning. Good graphic organisation plus visual appeal equals an infographic that is understood and remembered.